Hello, role-playing people, and in this episode we're having a look at the Fiend's lore of portals. The ability to open or close any door or lock, the ability to ward an area against all kinds of entry, forceful or otherwise, the ability to teleport one or more people from one portal of a certain type to another portal of similar type, and finally the ability to access the shadowy place between physical world and spirit realms. Though the details of their labors are pretty scarce throughout the books, the importance of the architects of portals is undeniable. So, the diviners of the fourth house are tasked with creating a perfect cosmic pattern, which they do. It's infinitely complicated, but perfect. Then the fifth house comes along and creates connections where none existed previously. Not only that, but to the seer's horror, the Oceanites break certain patterns that aren't to their liking, introducing unpredictability into what was previously a perfect cosmic pattern. Then the sixth and seventh houses come along and add even more variables to the grand equation. So now the duty of the fourth house becomes to catalog all of the observable and hypothetical relations between the already implemented elements and the new elements of creation. This is something they can do since they are the architects of patterns, but when they sense a disturbance in the force in a galaxy far, far away, if we can use that kind of terminology, they also need to get there in time to fix it before that disturbance gets bigger. The paths of the third house weren't enough for this task, so the oracles made use of portals, doorways which allowed instantaneous travel to various points all over the universe, something that seems very simple in application and limited in effect, but is very important in the grand scheme of things. We can imagine these grand initial portals must have been what we now call Eistein-Rosen bridges, aka wormholes, or black holes, or similar things, but really, the Fiends can work their magic through even the most mundane of portals, as we're about to see. Sadly, even with instantaneous cosmic travel, the members of the fourth house were simply overwhelmed by the amount of information they needed to keep track of. All of the new variables that resonated and changed the entire cosmic pattern. In trying to avoid that great change foreseen by Arimal, they played right into it. The rebellion happened and the Age of Wrath began. Interestingly, only a few of them joined Lucifer's rebellion since the nature of their work kept them distant from humanity. The player's guide tells us that during the war, after the creation of the Lore of Light, the Fiends of Portals claimed the shadows as their own, as gateways between what was left of the multitude of dimensions they originally built. We are even told at some point they weaved all of the shadows into a web of gateways, which was left unchecked during the Fallen's imprisonment, and nowadays bears frightening similarity to the Abyss manipulated by the Lasombra. But I am jumping ahead. For now, let's start off like we always do with the first evocation. Open/close portals. This evocation gives a Fiend complete control over the portals she encounters. Doors and windows unlock, open, or close at her command. System: roll manipulation plus intuition. The number of successes required is determined by the complexity of the portal and its attendant locking mechanisms. A simple residence requires 1 success, while a prison cell door might require as many as 3. If successful, the portal unlocks and opens or closes and locks at the character's touch. Torment. Monstrous demons do not open or close portals so much as they smash them open or jam them shut. When a high torment demon affects a portal with this evocation, the number of successes rolled is also applied as strength points to the portal in question, doing damage to its materials as if performing a feat of strength. Okay, I love this evocation, and this is something I will be saying a lot because the writing is clear, the effects are potent, and there are so many instances in which this ability is useful and narratively meaningful. But I think we should start from the definition of portal. I would say a portal is a doorway, gateway, hatch, orifice, openable window, lid, etc., which separates two spaces of different categories with distinct functions. Just as I did for the lore of paths, let's give some examples. Your washing machine lid closes the portal which separates the room itself from the interior of the machine, from the drum, which certainly has a distinct function and is a distinct space. As long as that lid is closed, the two rooms cannot communicate freely and certain materials cannot move from one into the other. When the lid is open, you can move clothes in and out between these two spaces, the room and the washer. The bathroom door opens or closes a portal which separates the bathroom, a space designed for mostly sanitary, hygienic, intimate processes, from the rest of the house. Indeed, each room of said house fulfills a different function for the inhabitants, and all rooms are separated by portals which are closed off by a manner of door, regardless of type, sliding, revolving, wooden, or PVC, or so on. We are surrounded by portals, just like we are surrounded by paths. Even in absence of the glass window, which is a see-through hatch that allows light to come in and observers to look outward, any orifice or opening within a stone wall is a portal. It stands in between and at the very intersection of two distinct spaces. With or without a closing mechanism, the portal is still there. Aha, but if the evocation manipulates the portal itself, why can it open locks? Because locks are an extension of the portal's cover, lid, door, gateway, etc., which prevents the portal from being opened by everyone at will or simply being open all the time. Some locks are external, some are embedded within the door itself, mechanical or electrical, but again, both door and lock are just an extension of the portal. They are a mechanism designed so that the orifice between two spaces can be closed. So, from the biggest of vaults to a tiny safety deposit box, from a refrigerator, a dumpster, or a toilet lid, to a trunk, a car door, or a window, the Fiend can open any and all of these with a simple touch. So useful. But can they close a portal that wasn't designed to close? One that is permanently open, like an archway or just a hole in the wall? Yes, they can, by making use of the second evocation. Create Ward. This evocation allows a Fiend to seal off the portals in an area, making it inviolable to outside forces. System. The character must be inside the area she wishes to seal with this evocation. Roll Charisma plus Intuition. If successful, all of the entrances to a given area become impassable. Even open doorways become clouded with wisps of fog, and what feels like a solid barrier of air prevents anything from passing through. Once sealed, the area cannot be entered even through the use of another lore, such as paths or realms. To penetrate the ward, an intruder must exceed the number of successes you achieved, rolling against the difficulty equal to your character's willpower. The area remains sealed for the remainder of the scene. Torment. Monstrous demons are capable of creating wards, but their energies do not restrict invaders so much as they inflict pain on those who attempt to enter a protected space. When an intruder crosses a warded portal, he suffers a number of bashing levels of damage equal to the successes you achieved on your roll. This damage may be soaked, but the difficulty of the stamina roll is equal to your character's torment. Splendid! So now you can close off any clearly delimited space, regardless of size, from intrusion or trespassing, provided the Fiend is inside that space. The duration is one scene, which is solid, And notice it's not just the portals, but the entire space that is being warded. Certainly the writers don't go into details about potential means of breaking the wards, but we can imagine anything from kicking a door open to using some form of battering ram, high caliber guns that might shoot through the walls themselves, a wrecking ball, or even artillery fire designed to tear down that space altogether. All of these are means of penetrating the ward. Clearly, only the most powerful of fiends will be able to fend off such potent destructive devices, but any and all successes on the roll create added resistance to the structure being warded, which is all the character needs in most mundane situations, and a pretty good bonus effect to have in more critical situations. Of course, supernatural means of intrusion, such as the lore of paths or the lore of realms, cannot simply bypass the ward, which is amazing, absolutely amazing, especially in situations where the other supernaturals are involved. I mean, slayers can't just fly in from the low umbra, and malefactors can't just lay an extra-dimensional physical path that leads into the warded area. So by reasonable extension, that means no vampires using the Path of Prapti or the Ash Path Necromancy can teleport or low umbra their way in or out. No werewolves can step sideways into this place. No wraiths can just materialize and manifest here. And no mages can use correspondence effects to get in unless they succeed on the resisted roll, which is made at a difficulty equal to the fiend's willpower. Very nice, because regardless of how you invest your character creation points, the starting willpower for any fallen character will never be below 5, and increasing that rating using freebie points costs only 1 freebie point. I really love this design choice because even when the fiend's successes are few, the difficulty can go quite high, and over the course of a chronicle, the evocation does scale and increase in power, so that's lovely. The High Torment version is also very much to my liking, and I think it leads to very visual scenes where one or more intruders step through the doorways of the warded space only to be racked by pain, their muscles contracting in sharp, agonizing spasms, their eyes tear up, trickles of blood run over their mouths from their noses, they can barely stand or keep from contracting into a ball of flesh as they feel weak, nauseous, and hurt. Solid depiction of what a high torment version of this evocation should or would do, since tormented fiends won't care much about protecting the warded space as much as they'd care about setting a potentially deadly trap and hurting the intruders. The only problem here is that this effect can be quite underwhelming for starting characters with low torment and low evocation dice pools, since they barely do 1 or 2 damage even if they roll 5 successes. The damage is only applied once as the intruder passes through the portal, and the ward doesn't prevent entry, so really, there's no incentive to intentionally use the High Torment version for a powerful, albeit destructive effect, because it doesn't do much. However, this damage is applied to any number of individuals passing through any of the portals of the warded area, and it does lead to ridiculously powerful effects at higher torment if the dice pool is also bigger. I mean, when dealing with an earthbound fiend, huge evocation dice pool, torment 10, well, that bashing damage is nearly unsoakable, so every doorway risks just murdering the protagonists instantly without second chances if they aren't aware that this evocation is active and being used. Powerful high torment fiends will have other fallen opening doors and passing through portals like they're navigating minefields, or like stalkers navigate the zone from Roadside Picnic. And because Earthbound can just materialize within a wider area surrounding their reliquary, you have no idea where the death trap lies. Next dot. Teleport. This evocation allows a fiend to use an existing portal to transport herself instantly to a similar portal at another location, potentially hundreds of miles away. System. Roll intelligence plus intuition. The number of successes required depends on your character's familiarity with her destination. If it is somewhere with which she is intimately familiar, such as a doorway in her own home, only one success is required. If it is somewhere she has visited frequently, 2 successes are necessary. If the destination is somewhere that the fiend has only recently visited for the first time, 3 successes are required. The demon must have visited her destination at least once before being able to travel there with this evocation, and there must be a portal there identical to the type she enters. If she steps through a doorway, there must be a doorway at her destination. The fiend can travel up to 100 miles for each point of faith she has. Therefore, a fiend with 10 faith could travel up to 1,000 miles away. Torment. Monstrous demons performing this evocation are severely hampered by their lack of focus. If the evocation is successful, a willpower roll must be made with a difficulty equal to the fiend's torment. If the roll fails, the fiend is transported to a random but familiar location as determined by the storyteller. Again, I love this evocation. Successes required depend on familiarity with the destination, and the fiend can always return to their hideout haven residence by simply spending 1 temporary faith point. Fantastic. Used in this manner, no roll is even necessary. The evocation always succeeds. Distance depends on faith rating, which is not a bad deal at all, considering the multiplier, 100 miles per faith point. So even at a starting faith of 3, any fiend can cover 300 miles in a turn, provided the portal they step through and the one they emerge from are of the same type. What that means is they don't need to be identical, oh no, just of the same type. So if the character uses a door to teleport, they will emerge out of a door. If it's a window, they will emerge through a window, and so on. Provided the fiend can physically fit through both the entrance and the exit, they can teleport through an insane variety of portals, not just building windows or doors. The fallen might travel through dumpsters, large toilets or sewage pipes, wardrobes, refrigerators. It's completely insane. Very much like malefactors, fiends might also have their own network of strategically placed portals within a city to facilitate travel, offensive guerrilla tactics, or escape in the case of an emergency. A large enough briefcase with a hinged lid is also a portal, a very portable portal. So yeah, this evocation does so much for players. It can lead to quite a few interesting situations when used by storyteller characters, especially bad guys. Imagine the protagonists following various clues and finally reaching the fiend's lair, a warehouse with all this junk in it, broken refrigerators, open wooden crates, containers everywhere. These are all portals. The antagonist isn't interested in talking, they just want to take out everyone. So especially if their initiative rating is high, they can, for instance, fire a gun at the protagonist, step through the portal, and bam, they're out of sight. Then, from the floor above, another shot, and vanishes again. So the characters need to out-ambush this individual somehow, though the fiend can always just completely escape if things get out of control. So the encounter also requires some social manipulation as the players make this demon feel in control and then pull the rug from underneath at the last second. Portals. How can you not love portals? And best of all, this evocation doesn't even cost faith. Crazy good. Next dot. Collocate. Akin to teleport, This evocation allows a fiend to use a doorway to tie two locations together for a short time, allowing others to pass through from one place to another. System: spend 1 faith point and roll stamina plus intuition. The difficulty is determined by your character's familiarity with the location she wishes to reach. If she is intimately familiar with the location, the difficulty is 6. If it's a location she has visited numerous times, the difficulty is 7. If she's been there only once, it's 8. If she's never been there before and goes merely by guidance of another, the difficulty is 9. The doorway remains open for 1 turn per success achieved. Like teleport, the demon must use an existing portal, doorway, window, manhole to cross between 2 locations. As many others can cross through or back again as may walk through the portal in the time that it is available. The fiend can travel up to 100 miles for each point of faith she has. Torment: monstrous demons can create co-locations, but those passing through are momentarily exposed to the demon's torment and risk severe psychological trauma or madness as a result. A willpower roll is made for individuals passing through the portal, the difficulty of which equals the fiend's torment. If a roll fails, the victim gains a temporary derangement. What's better than a portal only you can use? That's right, a portal others can use as well. The fiend is still in complete control when it comes to opening and keeping the gateway open, and they decide which locations are tied together, but now they can bring a whole choir with them. So again, provided they time it right using informants, lookouts, or other lures, an entire squad of Fallen can just appear through any portal in a completely different city hundreds of miles away, armed to the teeth, ambushing the target, taking them out, and just as quickly vanishing hundreds of miles away to the starting location. Not only that, but at this dot, the fiend can travel to a place they've never been to before, albeit at a difficulty of 9, and they can even do this merely by being guided by another. So if they so much as see the inside of your house on a Discord call or in a picture, why not? And they know the address, looking up the distance and positioning on Google Maps, bam, they can pop in at any time. Amazing, amazing, definitely worth spending 1 temporary faith point on this evocation. Final dot. Doorway into darkness. This powerful evocation allows a demon to create a doorway into the shadowy space between the physical and spirit realms, a dark, lifeless reflection of the world. Demons can cross over into this bleak realm for a short time or hide items from prying eyes and then retrieve them later. System: spend 1 faith point and roll stamina plus awareness. The evocation requires a portal, door or window, to form the threshold between realms, and the opening remains for only 1 turn. Individuals who pass through physically find themselves in a bleak, desolate mirror image of the physical world, one racked by howling winds that wear away at living minds. Mortals who cross over into this realm lose 1 willpower point for each turn that they are there. Once their willpower is gone, they gain a temporary derangement and suffer 1 level of bashing damage per turn that may not be soaked. Demons can remain in this shadow realm for a number of turns equal to their faith score without ill effects. After that point, they begin to suffer bashing damage as well. This evocation must be performed again to open a doorway that allows a fiend or another to return to the physical realm. Such a return opening can be created on either side. Torment. When a monstrous demon opens a portal to the Shadowlands, she risks losing focus and allowing some of the energies from beyond to slip into the physical realm. If the evocation succeeds, make a willpower roll with a difficulty equal to the fiend's torment. If the roll fails, the winds of the cosmic storm seep through, causing all mortals in the immediate area to make a willpower roll difficulty 8. If their roll fails, they flee in terror. If a botch results, the victim suffers a temporary derangement. Well, maybe I'm reading too much into this, and this really is a hunch more than anything else, but fiends using this evocation can enter a place that is somewhere between physical and spirit realms, accessed through the shadows they tied together during the war, resulting in a knot of shadows, the geometry of which would probably shatter the mind of anyone who understood it, a dark, cold, lifeless reflection of the world where howling winds flay and peel away living minds, while the bodies of such unfortunate beings take bashing damage from the cold, dark wind. When the darkness that resides in that place of cosmic storms pours into the physical world, it makes mortals flee in terror, lest they succeed on a roll, difficulty 8. This sounds like the Lasombra's Abyss to me, Obtenebration 2, Shroud of Night, to be more precise. And as always, feel free to disagree with me, it's not like I'm the ultimate arbiter of crossover lore, but I do believe this is the Lasombra's Abyss, a realm that also went unchecked during the Fiend's imprisonment, like the Low Umbra or, well, the Earth itself. The player's guide tells us throughout the Fallen's time of imprisonment, mortal sorcerers and vampires have stumbled upon this place, which is not fully physical or fully part of the spirit worlds. If anyone can survive the lifeless cold of this realm, it must be the undead. There is no sunlight here. They can endure -degrees temperatures. They don't need to breathe, which is huge. But as always, this is entirely up to the storyteller. To me, however, it does sound like the Abyss. Ultimately, the Fiend cannot reside in this place for long, given that the main point of this evocation is to hide valuable artifacts in a dark, inaccessible place that should be devoid of any life. Or use it as a death trap. I mean, open a portal, push someone through it, and if you're not there to open the return portal, they are gone. They will never be seen again. So storytellers can treat this place as some weird cosmic dimension that is devoid of life, where the Fiend stashes who knows what and can't under any circumstance reside there for more than a few turns, but they can also build an entire story around this dimension depending on player choice. A devourer might try to strengthen their companion's physicality to withstand this dimension. A malefactor might try to build a device that protects against the cold, lifeless winds. A scourge might use aura of vitality to heal their companions. So if the storyteller is on board with this endeavor, this realm can be explored by the protagonists. We know beings can enter this place physically, and the Fallen do not feel the pull of the pit while here, so all is good. Despite the limited uses of this evocation as written, extra-dimensional death trap or otherworldly secret stash, I really think in the hands of the storyteller, this power can expand the world of Demon the Fallen, encouraging exploration of other areas in creation that have been forgotten, unchecked, transformed in absence of their creators. So I love this. Let's have a look at the apocalyptic forms next. Nedu, the Visage of Portals. The Angels of the Threshold are tall ethereal figures, their long limbs and lean bodies wreathed in a veil of shifting shadow. Their movements are as fluid as they are soundless, and their feet leave no impression to mark their passing. When they pass into deep shadow, their eyes shine with a cold blue light. The Visage of Portals confers the following special capabilities. Pass without trace. The difficulties of the character's stealth rolls decrease by 2, and her passage does not disturb the surrounding environment in any way. She leaves no footprints and disturbs no foliage. Enhanced Perception. The difficulties of all perception rolls decrease by 2. Increased Awareness. The Fallen is especially attuned to the fabric of reality, lowering the difficulties of all awareness rolls by 2. Wings. A pair of swan's wings extends from the character's shoulders. At full extension, each wing is a third again as long as the character is tall. The character can glide up to 3 times her running speed per turn. Torment. Monstrous Nedu are like living shadows, ebon and ephemeral. Their voices are like the keening of wind over jagged stones, and their touch is colder than ice. The Visage of Portals confers the following High Torment special capabilities. Cloak of Shadows. The demon is shrouded in a pall of darkness, making her features difficult to see in the best of light and rendering her near invisible at night. The difficulties of all stealth rolls decrease by 2 whenever the demon stands in a pool of shadow or moves in darkness. If the character is attacked, the rules for blind fighting apply to the attacker. Improved Initiative. Add 2 to the character's initiative. Enhanced Dodge. The difficulties of all dodge rolls decrease by 2. Cast No Reflection. The demon's image does not appear in a mirror, nor can it be captured in a photograph or by a video camera. Even though the form features don't decrease the difficulties of the evocations, except for the last one, I think these abilities play into the lore and role of these fiends. Enhanced Perception, because they need to pay attention to a plethora of details in that cosmic pattern, and, well, they travel to dark planes between physical and spirit realms, so this one makes sense, along with increased awareness and Pass Without Trace, for sure. They are beings of discretion, they are the weavers of shadows, but precisely because they can travel using portals, the wings don't make sense. I'd sooner have given them the ability to see in pitch black darkness to complement their stealth, or maybe some bonus to their mental abilities, maybe reduced size so they can fit through the smallest of portals. But wings? I'm not feeling that. When it comes to high torment forms, again, I can't help but feel like their torment is very much like the shadowy abyss we've mentioned. Cloak of Shadows goes very well with Pass Without Trace, as they blanket themselves in that cold abyssal stuff to make themselves unseen. The Enhanced Dodge or Enhanced Athletics, for those adapting the original core rulebook to 20th anniversary rules, also makes sense, especially for evading attacks. We can even describe the character dodging a sword slash, for instance, by saying a brief portal just opens up within the character's own flesh, and the blade slides right through, so this is really cool. Reminds me of the Spot, the Marvel supervillain. Cast No Reflection, always useful, and notice this is also the Lasombra clan flaw, right? It makes sense for these beings whose torment seems to distance them from the physical world, bringing them closer to that horrifying abyss thing they created millennia ago. Or should I say, that horrifying place uses them as portals through which it spills into the physical world. I rather like that idea, but finally, Improved Initiative. I think this would have made sense as a low torment form, since these guys are like the first responders when something goes wrong in the Great Cosmic Design, and they need to act very quickly. The dark sight I mentioned earlier, eyes that can penetrate the deepest of darkness, makes sense as a high torment form, indicating that the tormented fiend somehow loses itself to that place of darkness. It's confused more and more with that shadow realm that is really not a nice place, and threatens to pour into the physical world with heaven knows what consequences. So there we have it, the lore of portals, the ability to open or close any door or lock, the ability to ward an area against all kinds of entry, forceful or otherwise, the ability to teleport one or more people from one portal of a certain type to another portal of similar type, and finally, the ability to access what I believe is the same abyss Clan Lasombra makes use of. I love this lore. I love the mechanics, which empower players. I love the narrative possibilities it opens up, and I love that it allows the storyteller to come up with their own interpretations and explanations. Some listeners have asked me this before, whether the Abyss of Demon the Fallen is the same one Lasombra can access, and at that time, I just didn't remember this little tidbit of lore from the player's guide regarding the Nedu, the Angels of Portals. It's a single small paragraph, so it's so easy to overlook and forget about. It's a good thing I always recheck or double check my sources every time I make a new episode. So let me know what you think. From the given description, could this be the same shadowy realm? Anyhow, this lore is just fantastic, well written, mechanically sound, empowering, and quite deadly in the hands of antagonists, earthbound or otherwise. I just love it. I think all of the evocations could have benefited greatly from similar approaches and similar types of writing. Thank you very much for listening. Take care, have fun, and don't forget to play.